Oh, now I gotta bust out my phone. YouTube. So, let's see. I have to go here, go here. We have to switch account. Here we go. Bewitching N Bazaar. Yay. Okay. Now we have to. Wow, that's a lot of courage. I think this is 2 minutes. That's us right there.
Oh, we've been on?
Oh. I don't know. No, I think we are on, but I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just sitting here like.
So they don't know how to see, like, interesting. One of these days, I'm gonna get this correct. Probably not. Live? Oh, here we are. Okay. Yay! Alright. So we'll put this here. So we've got supposedly 2 people watching, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, it hasn't been too interesting so far.
I'm gonna put hi.
Hi.
Just to see. Just to see if somebody responds. Alright.
All right.
So now there's one person.
That's okay. We're growing.
So here we go. So at least we know it's not on Witching and Working, because there'd be a lot more people on right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're on the right channel and everything. So welcome to the YouTube. Oh, it's actually not 7 o'clock yet. I guess we wait till 7, or should we just get started?
Let's just get started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the next episode of our live thing of podcast, whatever you want to call it, of Bewitching N Bazaar. And today we're going to be talking about spell work and how to do some of the spells that we do, as far as like what they're for, should I say, like why we do these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
I'm drinking Witch's Brew. This is from this is from Aroma Joe's. So it's called Witch's Brew. It's made out of like chocolate milk and coffee.
And I'm drinking Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
It's got alcohol in it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about. So as you know, Bewitching N Bazaar is all about it's our new thing we're doing. It's like a store in a sense where we do spells for people, and maybe if we do tarot readings, whatever you would want to indulge yourself in. If you go to our website, www.bewitchingnbazaar.com, it'll take you to where you can see the things that we work with, like whether it's candles or poppets. We do witches ladders, we do binding boards, and what are some of the other things we do?
Honey jars, worry dolls, readings. I do like a triple candle reading, things like that.
Yeah. And I'll do tarot readings for anybody who wants to get a hold of me. And it's all on there on how to get a hold of us and how to do it. And so today we thought we would come on and we would talk a little bit about, usually we would come on and we would actually do a spell. But today we are going to talk about spell work, and we're going to talk about how these things work and how to do some of these things.
Yeah. I think we should tell them that we've been gone for a couple weeks because we have had such technical difficulties. So we started this thinking that we were all set, and we were far from all set before we started. We didn't even have like a way to actually order when we got started. We're like, order this, and
Yeah.
can't order it.
Right. So,
So
and also like we changed locations. I don't know if you can tell from the last time. So we're
Yes.
actually downstairs now. We got a bigger room. Before we were working in a smaller room, and it just wasn't working out. So we changed
Yeah.
to a bigger room, and this is a lot better.
Yeah.
Better off. So anyhow, so
yeah.
that being said, so let's talk a little bit about magic.
Okay.
For those of you, so some of you might be out there wondering, like, what is magic? You know, how does magic even work? So magic can go by a couple of different definitions, but to me, magic is basically it is putting your will to change something, using your will to change something. Sometimes people will say, I think the famous definition was conforming something to change with your will or something like that. But it's where we're actually using magic, which is our will, to change the reality of something. And just to be clear, like what you see in the movies, you know, that's just obviously not the way it works. And all magic really does is it nudges something in your direction. So, for instance, if you're doing a spell to get a job, or you ask us to give you a job candle, for instance, we can make this candle for you and send it to you and all, but it doesn't mean you just sit on the couch and go, okay, I got this thing, I lit this candle, now all I have to do is light this candle and someone's going to call me and I'm going to have a job. This is amazing. I wonder what it's going to be. Wow, I can't wait. It doesn't work that way. You actually have to go out and look for a job. You know, the gods only help those who help themselves. So, that's how it really works. It just nudges things to your benefit.
Yeah, so magic is a lot like he said, but I see it sort of different. It's manipulating energy to do your bidding. So use all kinds of different forces to manipulate certain energies to do your bidding. That's what I do. I learned how to manipulate energies, such as using my elements, such as using my will, even taking energies from plants and objects to do the bidding I ask. So, in spirit, of course, yeah, that too.
Yeah. So
A lot of things.
Aurora says hello from Southwest England. Hi, Aurora.
Hi, Aurora.
And so yeah, and there's different ways to work magic. As far as as we know, there's different methods of working magic. There's candle magic. There's puppet magic. There's sympathetic magic. There's jump in anytime.
Well, puppet magic is a form of sympathetic magic, but there's all kinds of different ways you can do it. Of course, just regular spell work. A lot of people use candles, oils, incense in their spell work. I like to use objects a lot too. I have things like servitors, and I have things like magical eyes. I use a lot of those things in my magic.
Yeah, and I love candle magic. That's my go-to. That's my favorite is candle magic.
Yeah, he's always lighting a candle for something. Just like, I'm going to do a whole spell. And he's like, I got this candle over here. I'm going to write some stuff. I'm going to anoint it. I'm going to light it. And I'm like, it works for him. So you know what?
Thing.
You can't say, hey, why don't you try something different? He loves it because it works for him. So.
Yeah, that's my jam. So, and you'll see some of my candles that I do if you go to our website. You'll see some of the candles that I work with. So anyhow, so with magic, it's really a system of where there's three things that you do to make magic happen. The three things to bring this energy in is you have to, first you have to create energy, then you program the energy, and then you send it out to the universe. And that's how this stuff usually works. Well, not usually, always works.
Yeah.
So when somebody's working magic, they'll take and they'll. It's real important to have the image of what you want in your mind, okay, in your mind's eye. Visualization is key in working strong, good magic, because it's your mind that's telling the magic what to do, and more importantly, it's creating this image. It's creating on the astral, and then the magic is actually bringing it down to the physical. So anytime anything's created on this physical plane, it starts in the astral first, regardless of what it is. It doesn't even have to just be magic. It could just be somebody writing a poem, or somebody writing a song, or anything, or somebody discovering something, or inventing something. Mm-hmm. It's always created on the astral first, and then brought down into this physical world. This energy works the same way. So, but you would visualize this thing, and what you want to visualize is, say you are doing a spell for happiness, to bring joy to your family, we'll say. You wouldn't visualize the process of that happening. You wouldn't try to visualize one day, somebody coming home and they're just happier and stuff like that. That's not the way it works. What you would actually visualize is the outcome. You want to visualize, you want to show the magic what you want the outcome to be, regardless of what it is. If you're doing for a job, for instance, you would visualize your outcome of you working in an office or something, for instance, if that's your desire. Happy and getting along great with your coworkers and being happy financially, and just, you visualize the outcome. And then you would work in energy to raise this energy, to create this energy. And that can be done through dancing, it can be done through chanting, it can be done through so many different ways. It can just be done by even just concentrating really hard on, and really putting energy into it.
Or even objects. Again, you could use prayer beads. Those are a lot of things that people manifest with. Manifestation boards. People like to do this step by step. It's sort of like a wedding. Everybody plans these weddings, and then what happens is day of, it doesn't go exactly as planned, but the outcome's the same, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're married, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody had fun. They all had cake. They danced, whatever.
Yeah. So, and then once this energy, and then you would work this energy, and that's where just being a witch comes into play, like knowing how to do these things, and knowing the intensity of it, and knowing where to start and where to stop, and how much you can put into it before it starts negating, or before it starts just becoming overkill, and knowing when to actually just give that energy out there. But while you're working this energy, and you're working it up, and you're building it, you're actually using that visualization we just talked about, where you're programming the energy at the same time, telling it what to do. Then at the right moment, which again, this is the key part to being a witch, working magic, or whatever it might be, if you're a magician, whatever it might be, or just a magic practitioner, knowing when to release that energy, knowing when to say enough's enough, boom, get out there and do your thing.
And not manipulating that energy. So you may think, okay, I did this spell, and it's new moon. I'm going to do a spell for full moon to help with this. And that's really not how it works. So when you do a spell and you put the energy out there, you may be thinking that you're putting the same type of energy because you're trying to manifest the same thing and trying to help that spell by adding another spell on top of it. And what you're really doing is confusing the energy that you already set forth. So that's a big cardinal no.
Yeah. Well, that's where, yeah, exactly. You want to kind of do your thing and let it be. Like once you've completed a spell, the best thing is to let it do its thing.
Right.
Don't tell people about it. Don't go around bragging about it. Don't go around taking pictures of it and putting it on the internet, stuff like that, because you're really interfering with it. I know a lot of people who do that, actually.
Well, I don't talk about it, and I usually do it after I've already done the spell, so yeah.
But that's actually where many of you know about the pentagram, obviously. And the pentagram has the five, or is associated with the five elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. It's also part of the witch's pyramid, which is to know, to will, to dare, to be silent. Okay, which is the four of them, which it has the points. It's all linked together. Air is to know, fire is to will, water is to dare, north is to be silent. And all of that works with magic as well, because when you start with magic, usually you start with to know, the air side of it. You know what you want to do. You envision what you want to do. All that comes with intellect. It all comes with the mind, where you're envisioning. That's what we talked about, where you have to envision what's going on, the visionary part of it. Fire is to will. You have to will that magic into existence. It's all part of your will. It's using your will that's programming that magic we just talked about, and that's the fire side of it. And then we have to dare, which is the water side of it, which is putting your emotion into the spell. It's putting your dare. You're daring to do this. You're basically taking. Some people use magic as a last resort. There's two types of people in this world. There's people who use magic as a last resort because they've expended all their other resources. That's me. That's what I do. I rarely go to magic. I just right away. I usually wait till I really need it. Like I've been, then I really, and then there's a person that just goes to magic for everything they do. I don't know. To each their own. I think it works better for me when I'm in a desperate situation. And I found like, okay, look, I better just put magic now. I've exhausted all my other resources. That being said, that's to dare. That's the to dare part of it. Okay, that's like daring to do this magic, daring to throw all of your emotion and all of your willpower into this thing. It's a lofty task, especially when it's done right. And finally, you have to be silent, and that's where it comes into the magic is done. You've sent the magic out. It's finite. So mote it be. As it shall be, so it is. Bam, done, finished. Silence. Don't think about it anymore. Don't talk about it anymore. You've done your thing. Now, of course, there's spells like candle magic where you'll put like the candle and it'll remind you. Like every morning when you wake up, especially it'll remind you that spell is going out there. That's not for you to basically sit and empower it more. It's just to keep it with you and in your mind that, hey, this spell is happening. So look for some,
The energy's already in the candle.
Yeah.
It's nothing you can really do except just let it burn down,
Elowen says, hi, man, and hi, Tabitha.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
So one thing we should talk about is going back a little bit is some people I know, and this was a question that was asked of me quite a few times now, is how do I start doing spell work? Because people know, they learn about it and they know, okay, this is what you do for this, and they learn basic things, but they're too afraid to just do it. And I think I hear that like a lot. It's like I've been studying it. I really want to start practicing. And sometimes I hear people go, it's been 2 or 3 years I've been studying it, but I don't know where to start and I don't know when to start practicing. You can start practicing anytime you feel comfortable, but if you're uncomfortable about starting, start simple, like with a candle. It doesn't have to be anything really elaborate. Start simple. Simple spells are just as effective depending on what you're looking to do. So if you're looking to do something like, I don't know, start small, like I want to have a good day today, right? Do a little birthday candle. Just take a little birthday candle, yellow, I'm going to have a happy day, put some like maybe orange on it for some good luck, orange oil on it, light it up, and get ready for the day, let it burn down, go about your business and see how great of a day you have. And go from there and just get more and more and more, and then you can get more elaborate if you like, or just stay simple if you want to. There's no problem with that either.
Yeah, a lot of people out there think that the more difficult and the more elaborate the spell is, the more powerful it is. That's not true at all. I've run into circumstances before where I was dead set I was going to work magic. So the moment you are dead set that you're going to work magic, there's a moment when you say, I'm going to work some magic. That magic has already begun right then and there. It's already started. You've already started putting energy out there. There's been a few times, quite a few times, where I decided I was going to work some magic, and I went out and I bought the materials that I needed to get, and I put together everything I needed to do. And for one reason or another, I never got to actually working the magic. I never got to actually where I sat down and worked up the energy and did the thing, and I said, and I just I didn't get to it. It just didn't happen for one reason or another. And the magic worked anyway. And I literally sat there and like it worked anyway. Like I got what I needed to do. I got what needed to get done. And I didn't even light the candle. I didn't even get to prepare the candle, for instance. So a lot of people don't realize that either. That it starts well ahead of time.
I've never done that. I can't relate.
It's happened to me a couple of times actually.
But I mean, I could see where, because you're already putting the energy in, so I
Yep.
totally get what he's saying.
So my point being is that how simple does it get when all you did was put the energy into buying the supplies and getting the stuff together, and you never actually physically did it, and it still worked out.
Yeah.
So that's as simple as it gets, which goes to show you that the simplest form of magic is literally just doing that. You don't have to do anything. You can literally sit, concentrate, and visualize what you want to manifest, and that can work too, just as well. The candles, the poppets, all those things are all well and good for their thing too. They all put energy. They all help with the energy. They all help you with your visualization. They're all tools. They're all part of the thing. But in the end, you don't necessarily have to have them. But it really helps if you do have them. But it's not absolutely necessary. And when it comes to somebody doing works for you or doing spells for you, it really helps you because it gives you something to concentrate on. Like if we do like candle magic and whatnot, like we do these candles. So that also goes to answer like how somebody might ask, how can I, if you make me a candle, for instance, how does that gonna make it, how is that gonna work with me, with my energy? Like how am I gonna, is this gonna be your energy thing? It's both. So you get the energy from a veteran witch putting energy into it for you, but then once you get your candle, you also get to put your energy into it too and really fine tune it, and that's what makes it really great. So it's like being given a Corvette. It's like
Oh.
it's like we would send you like,
I don't know. It
we-
depends on the spell.
we would send you like the Corvette, for instance, and then but you get to drive it. So you're the one that gets to say basically drive it and bring it where you want it to go. So it's like we'll put the hard work into it, and you get to fine tune it and watch it do its thing.
Yeah. So, what about like a time you did a spell and it worked out for you? Give us
Oh my God.
give us a story. Give us
So-
a story time.
So first of all, I've never done, knock on wood, I've never done a spell that didn't work. I've never had a spell fail me. I've never had a spell fail me. But then again, I don't have to do a lot of spells for myself. A lot of times I do workings for other people because it's very, again, I'm the type of person that when I do a spell, something's really fucked up. That's when I do a spell. So, like for instance, my latest one was my job. So everybody knows, anybody who knows this knows that a couple of months ago I was let go for religious discrimination from a company up here in Manchester, New Hampshire, who works with materials handling, which I won't get into any specifics, but I won't mention names or anything. But they fired me for religious discrimination, which yes, I'm working on that. For those of you out there who are like, well, you should sue. Don't worry about it. And the whole thing is, I was out of work for like a good, I think a month. I was out of work for a month.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I was kind of starting to get a little bit worried, And then I received a call from a friend, and my friend was like, "Hey, so I can't believe that, like I've known you for years, and I remember that one time you lost your job, like 10 years ago, where and you did this whole candle, and you had a job within a few days. Actually, I've done that a couple of times where I had a job within a few days after doing the candle." And they go, "I can't believe that didn't work this time." And I went, "Well, it didn't work because I didn't do it." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you're right. I did used to light a candle. I used to get a candle and I used to do a spell, and I would do the whole thing with the candle where I decorate. I like to use the cylinder candles, and I would decorate the whole outside of the candle, like this, all with what I want, like 401k, how much money I want to make, all the information I wanted on there, health insurance, everything I wanted, and then I would dress the candle and I would light it, and within a couple of days I'd have a job." And I was like, "Holy crap, it's been like a month and I haven't done that." I'm like, "Oh my God, what am I thinking about?" I'm like, "Why didn't I even think about that?" So I came home, I went to the dollar store real quick and got myself a little $1 green candle because that's the color I use for getting a job. Somebody else might use it different. That's what I use. And I decorated the candle and I dressed it and I put the energy into it and I lit it. Did my thing. Literally 2.5 hours after I lit that candle, this just happened, and I got a call from a friend down in Florida. Then when I used to live in Florida, and it was an old boss of mine who we're like family, you know. So, but I worked with him for I think 12 years, and we talked and we shot the shit and everything. But I told him I just lost my job and all kinds of things like that and everything. He's like, "Oh wow, I'm really sorry to hear that." And I was like, "Well, you know, I love you." And I'm like, "I love you too." You know, everything. We hung up the phone, blah blah blah. A couple of days later, he calls me back, and he goes, "Hey, you still out of work?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I go, but I've been getting a lot of like, you know, second interviews and stuff like that. It's just like I just can't, you know, for some reason I'm just getting to the second interview. I'm not getting the call back, and I think you know why? I think it was because I just moved here, and I think people think I'm not going to stay here. I really feel like that. I really feel that people weren't hiring me because they felt like I was going to leave. You know, like.
Well, you had been here a couple of years actually.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know. I
I don't
mean,
know.
possibly. I don't
Either
know.
that or I sold myself under, like didn't ask for enough money. 'Cause I'm a project manager, so. But anyway, so he says, well, let's have a meeting. He goes, get a hold of me at 10:30. He goes, let's jump on Microsoft Teams and let's talk. And I'm like, okay. Called him up, got on Microsoft Teams. Next thing you know, boom, got a job. Love my job right now. I'm a purchasing manager now, so it's different from a project manager, but it is a purchasing manager. And I used to do a lot of purchasing anyhow, but I never did it in this sort of, you know, this much responsibility of it. But anyway, got a job, got a great job again with family, working with family basically, working from home because the company's located in Florida. So I basically just log on every day and I'm working from home. And it's just a great job. And it was everything I asked for on my candle. You know, well, I was really nervous too when I told him how much I wanted to make because I feel like it's pretty high. And he was like, we can make that happen. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like, okay. You know, I was waiting for him to talk me down and he didn't. So I was like happy about that.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, that's like one instance right there, but I have dozens. Do you have one?
Oh, I've got a lot. But I got one in particular. As man told you, like, you know, he's never had a spell not work for him. I actually have had spells not work for me, not in a long time. But I do have a story. So I've been practicing witchcraft for as long as I actually can remember, as long as I knew what witchcraft was, which was when I was, I want to say a child, but maybe, yeah, a child. Not too much older than a child, I guess. And I wasn't an adult yet, for sure. But anyway, so in my adult years over time, I started doing other things that I would get into. Of course, I was a mom, I got married, you know, all those things. And I was also a club girl. So you always caught me at the clubs here in Manchester or in Boston. I was in the clubs. I was always in the clubs. I love dancing. I'll go to the clubs. I'll stay out 2, 3 in the morning. I don't care.
You just raised
right?
hell.
So yeah, yo, exactly, right? So clubs, bars, you know. And so that's the life I was living. And of course, I held a job. So I had a lot of things going on in my life. And there was this one lady, I'm not going to say her real name, but I'm going to call her Cinda. And Cinda was the type of person that everybody disliked. Like, she was rude to people. We would have like new people that we would hire that would run out the second they met Cinda, crying because she was that rude. We would have people come in. We worked in, I worked in jewelry, so we worked with people like customers, and people would just complain about us all the time, especially this person. I remember one day in particular during Christmas, this one lady was like, she turned around, she said, I hope everybody here has a Merry Christmas. And then she pointed right at Cinda and said, except you, yeah, bump and bump. And I was like, okay. We all wanted to say it to her, It's like, we always joked, like, if we could vote somebody off the island, it would be Cinda. Anyway, So everybody had a problem with Cinda. And I always thought weird things of her, especially one day. This was when I was engaged. So I was engaged to be married, and I was going through, the whole process of planning and yada yada. And Cinda came to me one day and she's like, "Oh, I know you're about to get married." And she's like, "I want to give you a gift." So I opened it up because I didn't want to be rude. And I'm thinking, why is this woman giving me a gift? She hates me. But I'm like, okay, I'm just going to roll with whatever's going on here. Not really thinking anything of it. It's like, it's weird. And it was the most beautiful tiara. And I'm looking at it going, okay, well, it's pretty, right? But I don't want to wear it. Like, I have like everything set, at this point. Like, I already have my dress and, all that stuff. And this just isn't going to go with what I was doing, like the whole thing. So I was like, she's like, "I want you to wear it on your wedding day." And I was like, okay. But I was really thinking, I'm not going to wear it. But I didn't throw it out. I thought that would have been totally rude. But at the time, had I been thinking correctly, I wouldn't have accepted it or kept it. If I did accept it, I wouldn't have kept it.
Right.
And I put it on my vanity. And it stayed there for a long time. It was mostly just a decoration. And I got married. Everything went well. I got married on the Cape in Falmouth, and everything was cool. And then things started to happen. Like, one thing after another, just weird stuff would happen. And I remember, one particular time where I really started to notice things. Like, she would bring in apples from her orchard, for instance, and I never ate the apples. She always cut into the apples. She would eat them, and she would cut into the apple. She would never bite into the apple, and she would eat it. And she'd always, she'd have all kinds of different types of apples. Here, have this apple, have that apple. Always trying to get people to eat our apples, and she hated us. So I'm like, what is with the apples, right? Anyways, people would eat them, and they would leave. They would get sick and leave. And she just was like, "Oh, more for me," So just like more customers, because we worked on, commission-based job. So she was very money hungry in that way. Anyways, one day I'm working with her, and she was always like very rude. And I have my hand in a cabinet, and she slams the cabinet shut on my hand, and it really hurt. Now, this woman is 61 years old at this point. She didn't look it. She was very beautiful, but she was 61 years old. Her husband was my age. And you wouldn't tell that she was 61, and like that, you wouldn't tell that there was a big age gap between them. She did look a little bit older, but you couldn't tell too much. And anyway, at that point, she had shut my hand in the cabinet, and I looked at her, and my first thought was, I'm gonna beat the crap out of this woman, like, for doing this, because I was like, but I'm like, she's 61 years old, man. You're not gonna do this, respect your elders. And I just was like, what the heck? Like, why'd you do that? And she's like, looked at me, and she's like, it was supposed to break. And I was like, okay, well, that's weird. Okay, weird. And I was like, all right, like, just stay away from me, type of deal. A week later, I ended up having a safe fall on my hand and broke my hand in half.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when I knew, like, literally, like, the minute after it happened, I knew what I was dealing with. I was like, this woman's like a witch. Like, she is just, and she was a special type of witch. I won't get into that, but she was a special type. And anyway, my hand broke, and that's when I knew. And then I was like, I gotta do something, because I can't keep going on like this. So I started doing spell work, and it wasn't working at all. Like, nothing that I was doing was working. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And at this point, things are getting worse and worse, right? So I throw out the tiara. I'm like, well, that's one thing that's got to go. I'm like, maybe that's what it is. Nope, things are still going bad. So I'm like, what is going on? So then I realized she bound me, right? So then I had to come up with like this 3-part spell. And I know people say simple is better. This was nothing that I could just do simple work and end it. Like, I had to do a lot of work. And I knew that. So first I had to end by myself. That had to happen. So it was first step of the spell. The second step was to bind her back. So I did that. And then the third step is to kind of undo the bad things that were happening in my life, like open up, roads and put some good things in my life. And that's what I had to work on. And then I had to banish her so that she couldn't do anything back, right? So this was all the things I had to do. And so, my hand eventually healed. It took a year. I had to be casted twice. At that point, I had her bound. I don't think she realized it at first. I had unbound myself. I started working on getting things done correctly. And then one day, this lady that used to work with us, she worked for a different company. She was like a bigwig there. And she's like, I don't like Cinda. I was like, well, yeah, And she's like, you know what I'll do? She's like, I'll see if she'll come work for my company. I'll give her an interview, everybody else will see her. And she's like, I'll give her a fair shake, I'll give her a fair shake. She's like, but I'll pay her more than she makes here, more than she'll make in commission and stuff. And I'm like, why are you going to do that? She's like, well, I really hate Cinda. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, right? Makes sense of this. But I'm like, if you want to do that, go ahead. She's like, yeah, I'll take her off your hands for you. And she's like, but I'll give her a fair shake, because I'm not working directly with her, so it's fine. It's like, all right. So she, offers Cinda an interview. And Cinda goes, okay. So she goes, gets the job, right? The entire time, Cinda's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving you guys high and dry, blah, blah, blah. And we're all like, whatever, right? So she leaves. And like a month after that, like just over a month after that, I think, my old coworker came back and she's like, yeah, Cinda didn't make it. Cinda's not very good at computers. I was like, it's a computer job? Like we knew. She's like 61 at this point. She wasn't very good at computers. I mean, some people will be but not this person, right? She's like, yeah. She's like, you have to be good at computers. And she always said that she was a quick learner. So I wanted to see exactly how quick she was. Apparently not quick enough. So they let her go. And that was the last time I saw Cinda. And that's how I banished her.
And there you go. Magic works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So, did you have any other stories?
Yeah, I've got other stories. I mean, I don't know. Another one, these are ones that I've told on my channel before, but another one was a simple one. And this is one that I did when I was like 18. I think I was 18, 19 at the time, something like that. And it was very simple.
Hold on, sorry. Dark Malcor came on and he gave us the
Cha-ching.
sign. And he said cha-ching. And then DK showed up, Dragon Knight, I believe it is. And he says, howdy, guys.
Hello.
Good. Good.
So, so I was like 18, 19 at the time. And there was something that was like playing on my mind. So growing up, I had very young parents. I had teenage parents. And life was difficult. We grew up poor, and my parents weren't very good parents, at least not to me and my older brother. So we had it very rough. And I was very close in age with my older brother. We were about maybe a year and a half apart, something like that. And so we went to school together, and as we grew older, all my friends really had crushes on my brother because he was so handsome. And they would always tell me, oh, can you get, I don't want to say his name, but can you get your brother to, here's my number, can you get him to talk to me? Can you say something nice about me? And I'm like, you're my friend. Like, I'm not cool with my friends dating my brothers. I have a lot of brothers, but this is the brother in particular I'm talking about. So anyway, I wasn't cool with it. And people used to say things to me too. They used to be like, nobody wants to say anything because nobody wants to be that guy. But it's quite apparent when you look at me and you look at my brother that there is some sort of milkman situation going on. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've met him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So they would say, and I didn't get it. I mean, I guess I was too close to it. I always thought, this is my brother. I never thought any different of him. And people would come up to me and they'd say, like, so you guys have the same mom and dad? And I'd be like, yeah, why? And they'd be like, really? Or like, why are you so pale? Like, because they can't ask other questions, but why am I so pale, right? And so I'm like, I don't know, because I am. So, I would think about that. And then as you get older, you really start to realize something isn't right. And I realized that when I was 18, like the way he was treated was just totally awful. And then I'd start to notice that he really didn't look like the rest of us. And so it was something that always played on my mind. And anyway, so one day I'm like, I gotta find out the truth. I just gotta figure out what's going on, Now, again, my parents were teenage parents, so they were a teenager when they had my brother. And I'm like, I gotta figure out, what to do. So I decided to do like a truth spell. And I had like very like rudimentary stuff, like candles and maybe a little bit of oils here and there. And I think I used peppermint oil and a white like chime candle. And I dressed the candle and I lit it and I just put my energy in it, looking for the truth. And I wanted to know, if my brother Gerald had a different father. I knew who his mother was, but if he had a different father. And I let the candle burn down. I went to bed. And the next day, it was like one of those you should have a V8 moments, like this is what you do, right? So the next day, I came up with something, and it was like a brilliant plan. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, probably because I hadn't done the spell. And the plan was that my mother worked third shift. And she lived in the same house she grew up in. Because at this point, my parents were divorced, and I lived with my mother. I was only 18, 19 years old. And so anyway, she went to work at night. And my plan was that when she went to work, this is a big, huge lie that I'm telling, by the way. I'm going to tell a big lie to both my parents, okay? So, so what I did was when my mother went off to work, I was going to say to my dad that there's this knock on the door. And it was this guy. And I basically described my older brother, but like an older form, like I imagined my older brother in this older form of what he would look like older, right? And I would tell my dad this on the phone while my mother was at work, right? So that night my mother goes to work and I set the plan in motion, right? I call up my dad about 15, 20 minutes later and I say, hey, I got this weird knock at the door, and it was this guy, tall, dark, said he knew, my mother when she was in high school. And I said, I don't know who this guy was, but I didn't want to let him in. It's the middle of the night, right? And the first thing my dad said is, the door's locked. I said, yeah, the door's locked. He's like, pack a bag. I'm coming to get you. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, don't open the door to anybody. Keep the phone on you in case you have to call 911. Pack a bag. I'm coming to get you, right? I said, okay, And now he lives 20 minutes across the city. Mm-hmm. He was there in 10, so he must have been speeding, right? I got a bag packed, throw it in the back. I'm like, well, I guess I'm spending the night here, which I don't want to do, but, I'm going to find out what's going on. So halfway through the car ride, I'm just like, what is going on? And my father was like completely silent, like he didn't know what to tell me. And then finally he says, I'm going to tell you something that we've been hiding from you kids for a long time. And he's like, and it was bound to come out sometime. He's like, I'm shocked it took this long. I said, all right, what's going on? And I was like, you're scaring me. What's going on? He's like, the guy that was at your door today is a very bad man, and he hurt your mother very badly. And he said, and then something happened. And I said, well, what happened? And he said, well, your mother gave birth to your brother, and your brother is actually your half-brother, but we never told you because I always wanted to raise him as if he was mine, and it was just supposed to be normal and what have you. Now, if you saw my dad and my brother, you would know that these two people are not related.
He's the Prince of Egypt.
Um, just you just wouldn't see it like at all. Like you'd just be like, "This is your son." Like I don't know about that. So anyway, I knew. And then once we got to my father's house, I said, "Okay, well, what are we gonna do? Because now that I know, can't expect me not to tell my brother what's going on." And he goes, "Well," he's like, "Let me do that." He's like, "I think that we should all just be sitting here and know." And this turned into a big thing between my mother and my father. My mother was like, "She lied. Nobody came to the door." She's totally right, but I, lied some more and said that somebody did.
Oh yeah.
Turns out it's caused a lot of issues in my family. And it caused a lot of issues for my older brother. I thought that the truth would set us free. It ended up making things a lot worse, unfortunately. But it worked, the spell. And yeah, it was something, and it turns out, side note, and I guess my father didn't know this at the time, and how could I possibly know this, but when I did do this whole thing, this guy had already passed away. So the things that were said about him from like other research I've done, turns out he was a pretty decent guy. So I don't really know what happened back then, but I do know people spoke highly of him, and I feel like my brother missed out, so that's one.
I think the weirdest thing I've ever run into spell-wise was when I was younger, in my younger years, and I had a coven. Just when I wasn't Gardnerian yet. I was working as an eclectic in outer court, and I had my girlfriend at the time and some friends, and we were all just kind of working, eclectic together. I guess I was about 21, 22 years old, and we had gone to do something, me and my girlfriend at the time and this guy Gio, and we were at IHOP, and it was late. It was like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and we were eating our food, and I just had this uncanny, like, I just wanted to go to the beach. Being in Florida, whatever, that's right around the corner. So I was like, actually, it was about 15 minutes away, but I was like, I want to go to the beach. I never want to go to the beach. Like when you live in Florida, the beach is just like, you didn't catch me in the ocean unless I was on a boat fishing or scuba diving. I never went to the beach. That's where the tourists go. And so anyway, we went down there. It was like late at night. We just like, I really want to go. We went down there, and I'm like, I had that urge to go down there. The moon was up. The moon was like full, I believe, or next to full. And we went down to the beach. The wind's blowing. It's beautiful. The night sky's there. Everything's, I'm feeling it. And my friend Gio goes down to the edge of the water, and I think he was going to go stand in it or something. Anyway, he found this barrel, and I told this story on a video, but there's a barrel that rolled up, and it was this little barrel about yay big, about the size of a coffee can. And he's like, "Oh wow!" And he gets it, and he's like, "Look at this, dude! He goes, oh, I got a treasure chest," and everything. And we're like, "Okay, Gio, whatever." So he's like, "Oh, dude, it's a treasure chest. Look, man, somebody made this. How cool is that?" And he goes, "There's something on the inside." I'm like, "What?" So we so it was like a can or something on the inside, and they put like wood around it. Anyway, so he opens it up, and inside of this can is a letter. It's a note, and it's waterlogged. It's all wet, so we can't read it really. But it's the ink. Some of the ink had run. Some of it you could still read it. But we took it in to my truck, laid it out very carefully on the dashboard, turned on the air, the heater, and just kind of let it do its thing, and to dry out. And we went back and did our thing, we went out and just hung out for like 15, 20 minutes, came back and we were able to read the letter. And the letter was from a person who had cancer, and it was a woman. And, DK says, Mannon's mic is lower than Pink's, can't hear. Can we hear you, but it's about a third of Pink's level. Here, I'll do this. So maybe this will work better. So we read this letter, and it's a woman who has cancer. Try that. And she puts inside the letter that she had a dream that they instructed her to do this. It said, "Listen, if you want help, you need to write this letter, and it has to get into detail about certain things, and then put it in a barrel, put it in a camp, and throw it in the ocean. Go to the end of the pier and throw it into the ocean. So, and then she said, and in the letter said, and the dream told her that it would fall into the hands of the people, or of the energy that would help her. So it's just kind of coincidence, kind of weird. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that this force, this dream, tells her to do all this. And this is obviously a Christian woman. In the letter you could tell, because she talked about God and Jesus and stuff like that. And it goes into about how she doesn't want to leave her kids. She has 3 kids and this and that, but I guess she had breast cancer or something. And so I think it's crazy that she throws this thing off the end of the pier, and I'm getting this urge to go down to the ocean for no reason whatsoever, because I really couldn't stand, just had no inkling to ever go to the beach. And this letter specifically talks about how these energy, what the help she needs would come from this. And 3 witches go down and find this, and find this letter. So we take it, and of course at the time we were still very green in magic and witchcraft and everything. Like I said, I started witchcraft when I was like 18 years old, and I was like 21 here, so I've been doing it for a couple of years. But we had this lady, there was a store that was around the corner from my house called Magical Forest, and there was a Gardnerian witch queen that worked there and owned the store. And I used to go to her for all my information and everything. I respect her a lot. Lady Kara, her name was. And we went there with this letter, and we're like, hey, like, we learned that, we're never supposed to work magic without people's permission. So we found this letter, and she reads the letter, and she goes, well, guys, she says, you have all the permission you need right here. She says it right in the letter. Go work magic for this lady. So we did. So we took it that night, because we were still in the midst of a full moon, which to me is 3 days before the full moon itself, and it can be up to a day or 2 after even. And we worked magic for her, a spell to relieve her of her cancer. And we know that magic worked. We know that magic nudged and helped her out and worked out. Did I get confirmation from her? No. But we just have to know that it worked. Because how could it not have worked with that kind of, with that whole thing going down the way it did? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm positive it worked good. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Cool.
So, we have more things here. DK says, Darth Melkor says, it's louder now. DK says, there you go. Okay. Melody Muir says, hi all.
Hello.
Yeah, one of these days we're going to work out this whole, I'll get the whole, I think I'll probably put it back on my shirt now.
Yeah.
These microphones, for some reason, one's always lower than the other.
There we go.
Try it out like that. I think that'll work. That should work out okay. But, magic, it works in mysterious ways, and it works in strange ways, and there's so many different types of magic. We went over earlier, for those of you who joined us late, if you go back in the video afterwards, we talked about magic earlier and how it's done and how it works. And, some people just say magic is literally science that hasn't been discovered yet, which it kind of makes sense, because you got to imagine back, a couple thousand years ago, lightning was magic. That was like something that nobody understood. So they, it was something that, but now we understand how it's made and how it's done. But at one point it was magic, So who's to say, nobody can really tell you how magic works. Nobody can tell you why it works still to this day. We just know that it works. I know that it works. And even to some people ask me sometimes, they're skeptics, or, they'll say, how come I don't feel these things, and how come I don't see these things, or they'll automatically be going into something trying to discredit it. And I say to those people all the time, don't bother.
Yeah.
If you're going to go into a spell thinking it's not going to work, don't even waste your time. Don't even waste your time.
But I've also had people, and this is funny. So I have friends that they're like, I don't believe in all that hocus pocus stuff, right? But the second they fall on hard times, right?
Yeah.
Can you do this for me? And I do when it works for them. So, I think it's like a convenience factor for some people too. I want to believe it, so they will believe it, and then it'll help them. But yeah, then they're like, I don't really need any of that until they need it again, which I've had quite a few times from a few friends of mine,
Melody said, I've said that for decades. I don't know what part of it. I think maybe where I said magic is just science that hasn't been discovered yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we do know that energy, we do know that there's energy in everything. We know that there's electricity involved with everything. I know a guy back in Florida. Pink met him. And this guy's amazing. To me, Pink's not that impressed. I'm impressed as hell because I've never seen this before, but she's seen it before from a very good friend of hers. This guy can move things with his mind. Like, no shit. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I mean, you're I know most of you out there go, yeah, all right, sure, oh, that's, oh, yeah. No, seriously, the guy moves stuff with his mind.
Yeah.
And it floors the hell out of me. I try to pretend, because to be honest, he's a very good friend of mine. He's in a coven. He's in a Gardnerian coven. Well, he's about to be in a Gardnerian coven, actually. But to me, this guy, and he's famous. His name's Mike, so I can say who it is. He's been on the Discovery Channel. He was on the Discovery Channel, as a matter of fact, where they were testing his energy to find out why it was happening and how it was happening. And you can look him up. I forget his last name. Do you remember his last name?
Mike Mooney.
Mike Mooney? Mike Mooney. You can look him up. He's famous. And we knew him personally back in Florida. And we would have circle nights. I remember one circle night, for instance, he came over and he was just demonstrating, and like one of the students there was like, oh, well, let me see this. So he goes, all right. So he just grabs a pen, like he grabs whatever. I think he grabbed a pen out of a cup on the girl's counter and put it on top of a glass. And he was like this with his hand, and the pen went flying across the room. And he's a foot away from it. He just, or he'd go like this, or he'd put something on the table in front of him, a cup or something, and he'd go like kind of like this with his hand, and the cup would start spinning. It was totally amazing. Once you'd seen it a couple of times, you would, it floored me every time. I thought it was amazing. I was like, how doing this? And he's like, and it would piss him off. It's like when the girl, when he did that little demonstration, the girl even said, well, that you're very special. And he goes, no, I'm not. He said, I'm not very special. Remember this? He got all mad. He goes, I'm not very special. He goes, everybody can do this. Everyone can do this. He goes, yeah, I might have had a little bit of an advantage because when I was born, my grandmother could do it, and she kind of like showed me, she kind of taught him from when he was a child how to do it and how to concentrate and how to do these things. But he said, everybody can do this. Everybody. Mm-hmm. He goes, it's just it. You have to know you have to see it, and you have to know it's going to work. Listen, I can't do it. I'm not telling you. I mean, I can't do it, and I've tried. But this guy is just totally freaking amazing, and there's a lot of people like him. It's not just him. There's a lot of people in the world. I've seen
other people that can do it. I have another friend that does it as well. So like it's not that impressive to me. Even when I met Mike, I was like, oh, I've seen this before.
I was like, did you see that? Did you see? I'm like, look, he can do it with anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he could do it with anything.
Which, to be honest, is cool. Don't get me wrong, in its own right. But I think that it's again manipulating energy. That's all it is, and we all do it differently.
So he told us what it is. So like when the Discovery Channel took him and did tests on him, which is you can watch it. It's actually static electricity, is what they told him. It's basically static electricity, and what they said, what they can't figure out, what science can't figure out, is how he can compress it and direct it in such a distinct way. And this guy's awesome. He'll grab your hand and he'll let you feel it. First thing he always asks you is, do you have any heart issues or any heart problems? And he always asks this to anybody before he does it. And then I'm like, and somebody asked him, why do you ask that? He goes, because sometimes it freaks a person out and I don't want to be responsible for if something happens. So he'll literally grab your hand and he'll hold your hand. And he'll do it, and he'll shoot the energy so that you can feel it, and it feels like static electricity. It feels like tingling your hand, like something's tickling the bottom of your hand. He can give you a quarter, and you put it in your hand, and you'll close your hand, and it's a quarter you pull out of your pocket, and you can put it in your hand, and he closes your hand over it, and he'll go, do you feel that? And he'll put his hand on top of yours, and he goes, do you feel something? Do you feel that? And you'll feel like something moving, and you say, I feel the quarter moving in my hand. And he'll go, open your hand, and he literally bent the freaking quarter in half. With his hand, with his energy. On Discovery Channel, he stops a car engine. The scientists, one of the things they do for him, they have a car engine going, and he uses his energy to literally seize the car engine. It's like, and the engine just goes and just seizes.
Let me just I'm gonna burst a big wow bubble, okay? So what's going on here is he's basically a magnet, and we all have we have metal in our blood, all of us. Some of us less. I'm anemic, so I have less metals in my blood, but all of us have metal in our blood, and with that, he's able to make that connection with you, and like the car engine has metal in it. The quarter has metal in it. It's all just metals.
It's very crazy though. It's insane. Like when you watch.
And
him do it.
it's really cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. And he's also a mentalist. So like the first time I ever met him, he literally did a thing with me where I was standing there and he said, "Hey, big guy." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And he goes, "Hey, he says, think of a number between 1 and 100. And I said, "All right." So I'm like, and I thought of 78. I remember this happened. And I thought of the number 78. And he goes, "Are you sure that's the number you want? That's the one you picked?" And I went, I didn't tell him. I just was, he goes, "Are you sure you got it in your head? So you thought of the number?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you sure you want to keep that number?" I said, "Yeah." And then I changed it. I changed it to 52 in my head. And he goes, "Okay, you got it now, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." And he goes, and he takes his pocket and he turns his pocket inside out, and 2 quarters and 2 pennies fall on the ground. And he picks them up and he goes, 52. And I go, "Holy shit. How did you do that?" I go, "How did you know? How did you read my mind?" And he said, "I didn't read your mind." He goes, "I told you what to think with my mind. That's why I had you change the number to 52.
Okay.
And I was like, "What the shit, man?"
So to burst another bubble, okay? I have friends that are hypnotists. This is like a sort of like a hypnotist type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, again, really cool stuff. But there is a way that you can manipulate what people think. It's all manipulating energy, right? So some people, it's much easier than others. Just like the iron thing or the metal thing, it's much easier for some people to do that with some people than it is for others, right? Same with hypnotism. Like, so some people say, okay, I'm not able to be hypnotized. I tried before. And sometimes they don't even know that they're able to be hypnotized, thinking they're not able to be hypnotized when they were hypnotized. So it really depends on those factors. But yeah, it's all manipulating your brain waves and what you can think and do. Yeah, it really is a cool thing to do. I have a friend that does hypnotism. So yeah, I mean it's it's a form of hypnotism.
I mean
it is really cool.
Yeah,
it is cool.
Yeah, and he like does things like where he does things like where he gets paid to do for his gift and everything. He goes to shows and people hire him and everything and to do his things. And like I said, he's kind of famous. They've studied him a bunch of times. They actually showed him, like, the first time he ever saw his energy, again, was on the Discovery Channel, where they actually filmed the energy coming from him. And he said it blew him away because he had never been able to see the energy before. And they actually were able to film it with some kind of special camera.
Yeah.
And they showed it, and it looked really crazy. And he said, "Oh my God," he goes, "I never knew it looked like that," And it was pretty nuts. But so we've got some things here.
Yes, telekinesis. Yes.
So DK says, "Absolutely, magic and science go hand in hand. My opinion is different names. My opinion is different names for the same force." DK says telekinesis. And he says, "I'm sure I spelled that wrong." And Owen said, "DK agreed, magic and science." Yes. And Melody says, "Does he give lessons?" No, he doesn't teach you how to do it. He does tell you that everybody can do it, and he gets mad when people say they can't. DK says telekinesis, and then he says, "Oh, very interesting." And Darth says, "We all have our gifts."
That's what I'm saying. So I don't have those gifts. I do find them quite unique and special. Do I think anybody can do it? I'm sure if they practice enough, they could. But just like some people are better at this or better at that, they're all special gifts for everybody. Like there's certain things that I'm really good at in my witchcraft practice that others may not be. Because I've either practiced more in that or it's just something that naturally is a gift of mine. So you never really know. Everybody's got different gifts, and those are really cool gifts to have. And
I know one of the things Mike says is, and he says this every time, he says, you have to know it's going to happen. He goes, that's that simple. He goes, you have to see it in your mind, and then you just do it.
He manifests it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
So
cool.
he says, I see the pin, or I see the cup, or I see the plate move in my mind, and then I just do it. And and that's it. And that's what he'll tell you when it comes to for a lesson. He says, I can't teach you how to do it. He goes, I can just tell you how to do it. And that's what he says. He goes, you got to see it in your mind, and then you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's like anything. Like that's like, I see it in my mind, me picking up this candle. Now I'm going to pick it up. Here you go. I picked it up, right? Now imagine just not picking it up though, but doing it another way, like where you just see it in your mind and you do it. We should do this. We should have done that. Set this up ahead of time. I had like a string on here and it picked it up. I'd be like, oh my god!
No, we wouldn't do that.
But no. But listen, guys, it is 8 o'clock. We love spending. Thank you for spending this hour with us. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think I'm good.
Thank you for spending this hour with us. Again, if you want to head on over to our website, Bewitching N Bazaar. And try to pass it on to others. We have things there where we're doing spells, a little adventure of ours, and tarot readings or whatever it might be. Can you do triple candle readings? And so we just kind of thought we'd put these little videos together to kind of talk to everybody, kind of just like say hi to everybody. And whenever we do get people who actually start getting spells from us, we're going to actually, if they want us to, we're actually going to do those spells live, like on air if they want us to show people how we're doing it and stuff, and and to kind of do it, and that's it. It's like a whole new little thing.
Yep.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you want to see the beginning of this video, it'll be up on the site. It'll automatically go into the live stuff. Just go over to the live things on the YouTube channel here, and you should be good to go. You should be able to see the whole thing from the beginning.
Oh, I should say, before we go, that we're going to be adding a few other things onto our Bewitching N Bazaar website in the next couple weeks, and I will be announcing one or two of those things next time. When is the next time? It's not this Thursday, the next Thursday.
Bi-weekly, every other Thursday, starting from now.
We'll figure out the date. I haven't figured that out yet.
It'll be on our website. I'll put it on our website.
Yeah.
So Dark Mouth Core gave us the peace sign out again. DK says, so it's not going to work if there's any doubt. Exactly. It can't be any doubt. That's the way magic works, period. No, you can't have any doubt. Elwin says, thanks, guys. Melody says, thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
It was awesome hanging with you.